Yeah.
Okay, we're recording. Good afternoon. This is Beth McKay joining in. I notice that when I do these recordings, I like to move around a lot. I'm here with Helen House today, whom has been an amazing part of my life since 2013. And we're here to talk about self-care and how we manage ourselves in our busy lives. Hi, Helen.
Hi, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So before we hit record, we started talking about self-care with the lens of creativity. And so in this moment, I'd love to do some dancing with you on your relationship with self-care and your expression of creativity.
Well, it's probably as a creative person, it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving topic. There's different practices that emerge all the time, depending on kind of where I am in the moment, what's needing my attention, what's wanting my attention, and so it varies. It's like I let myself be adaptable, and flow with it. So I don't have something. I'm not one of these people who like, oh yes, for the last 30 years, every morning I've gotten up and had my granola and then, done my yoga and meditation, and then I paint. I'm not as structured as that. I'm more a fly by the seat of my pants. But I do go through periods where I have, like right now I have I often will have a morning ritual that it kind of sets me up for living my life in a particular way. And so, I have a particular ritual that I go through right now, and as I start to feel that kind of fade away, like where it's not really giving me what I need anymore, then I'll look at it and readjust and shift it a bit so that it serves me for the next stretch of time.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm hearing and appreciating is the fluidity that you connect with whatever the expression of creativity is in your self-care.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's like the creativity is just like, it's about what's for dinner, how to create from what's in the refrigerator. And other times it's more specifically an artistic expression, or it's a design process that I'm working on to design curriculum, or it's two-dimensional, three-dimensional work, might be writing. Like I'm not set in any one medium in my life right now. So I just try to live as a really creatively expressed person, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you're pointing to in that creativity and self-care can be opening up that fridge and pulling out whatever's in there to make a meal that is nourishing your body. Absolutely. And tastes amazing. And is fun.
Yeah.
And, whereas I'm going to make an assumption, I saw you posting a picture this morning of, I'm going to call it a beaver because it's Canadian.
Yeah. I think it was a muskrat.
Muskrat beaver.
Yeah.
Swimming in your lake.
Yeah.
And that is another form of creativity.
Yeah, I always bring my camera. I always bring my camera phone, my phone my camera that's in my phone down to the lake with me when I go down and have my coffee in the morning. And I take these little video clips, and it'll just be like of the ripples after a fish jumps, or it'll be of the waves going. I'm collecting these clips, kind of like how you collect fabric. I collect 30-second video clips that to me right now they're kind of my medium that I'm gathering them to be able to put them together in a form. It's not quite clear to me yet what it's going to be, but I'm trusting my instincts on it.
Well, and what's the gift of just being present and mindful to what you can capture in 30 seconds? Like, how does that feed you?
Well, it slows me down. It's like, if I'm some days it's like, oh wow, like look at the light on the water. I just want to capture the way the thing is sparkling. Or it's like, look how those raindrops are just hitting perfectly. We were camping and I pulled out my phone and I just started, videoing the rain on the lake, and and it just kind of tunes me into it. And then I have to put the phone away,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't go anywhere else in that phone. So I'm just with, okay, I've captured this moment, I've captured this image. Now I need to be in the moment, be with the moment, because it's so easy to use the phone, even if you're taking pictures or videoing. I see people all the time, like they take a picture of everything, but they never actually look at anything.
Yes.
And that's, I want to use it as a way to deepen the looking rather than take me away from actually seeing.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about what you're saying is setting up the boundaries.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, because it's like that's a way to. That's a form of my self-care. It's like I really truly need places where I can unplug fully, because I'm like in this format a lot. I'll be sitting on Zoom or on the phone or in front of my computer.
Yeah.
Often too many hours of a day, and so to just unplug from all of that and step away is really nourishing for my spirit.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you talk about the essence of what you're doing in your self-care is getting present with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's all there is that's needed.
Yeah. It's certainly ground zero. It's like start here.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's more to go. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that I was just thinking about this the last couple of days. I used to use the arts, like I was an artist for many years as a living. And so I'd go in and just create, whether it's painting or drawing or 3D work, or, I used to be a glass blower. So I'd go into the studio and just work it out. And I would use that to get back into myself. Like when life was chaotic, or, I was upset about something, creativity would bring me back home to me. And now I'm kind of home with me all the time. So now I'm looking at, like, how do I actually create when I'm not miserable? Like when I don't need to create to be able to be fine. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it can be challenging. It's like, oh gosh, I feel really good. I feel at home in myself. So what is there to create? So, and that's when I turn to things that are more like writing or generating material for my work, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
or just sitting on the dock and taking pictures of the rain.
Yeah. Well, and thank you so much, because I love how using creativity has evolved in your, parallel journey with your self-care and your knowing you.
Mm-hmm.
And being with you, and like using a medium. You used glass blowing and painting and other mediums to get to that place of freedom of expression, and by using whatever that expression is, you've grown to a place where you can just be in it.
Well, true confession.
Yeah.
So there's another step or two in there. So in the beginning, my creativity was my sanity. It was like my way home to myself, my way to be there. And so, like, I started I was primarily a 3D artist. I worked in clay, I worked in metals, I did sculpture, ceramics, that kind of stuff. And as I was in art school, creating these things, I was like, oh my God, I can't possibly make my living throwing my soul out on a pedestal and saying, here, what do you think of it? Can you judge it? Is it good art? Is it bad art? I think it was just art therapy. How much do you charge for, your own expression of, therapy that's made into, 3D form or something? And it kind of freaked me out. So I discovered glass, and I loved the process of it, the sort of full-blown dance of being a glass artist. In that hot glass studio, it's like there's relationship there's this material, it's magical, and pretty things come out. Like no matter how ugly it is, someone will think it's pretty. And I thought, oh, this is great. I can actually be creative and never have to put my soul on the line, never have to sort of, do anything that has my heart being out in front. So when I discovered my work as a coach, it was like, oh, wow, this is great. I can actually go back to art again and just express what I want to express and never have to worry about putting a price tag on that. So it's like it's been an interesting. There's been these different periods of life where sometimes that creative expression is absolutely fundamental to my self-care. It's like it's what has me sort of stay sane and stable. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, actually, it's what has me be walled over and busy, not feeling. Right. And then it's like, oh, okay, now I actually am ready for another layer. It's like, let's just play, let's just create, let's see what comes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was full of so much, and I love how you wrapped it up with the let's just play. Because so often in our self-care and in life, there's a belief that we have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I think if one thing to come out of our conversation is with the perspective or the lens of play, connecting to that self where I do feel free within, and in what way can I express that in my self-care?
Yeah. Well, and there's also the places where it doesn't feel like play. That's okay too. And in those places, I have really strong boundaries. It's like, there are some bodies of work that I've done that, those are for nobody but me and a few closest, nearest and dearest people to see. It's like, it's not really about, it's about something that's a lot deeper. Yes. And more meaningful, more spiritual, more philosophical, whatever that is for me. And that matters too. It's just like, so like having room for all of that. But like, I think a lot of people who worry about, like they'll say, oh, I'm not creative. I can't draw a straight line or something. Often what they're really saying is I can't be with the judgment that the world will have of me because I'm not good at this. And so to be clear about what are you doing just for you and what are you doing that you want to share with the world? I mean, like that quilt behind you is just gorgeous. And I can also see, because I've watched you in your quilting from the beginning, I can see how far you've come in that quilt too. It's like you're into much deeper layers of this art, and this craft. And it's fun to see. It was, I imagine, kind of vulnerable in the beginning to put those first things out. Especially the ones that didn't come out how you sort of planned, if you had any of those.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. And I think that that's the part that attracts me to, like keep trying.
Yeah.
And challenge myself, because there's growth, there is freedom, and there is deep learning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
and I'll just quickly wrap it up. I was commissioned to make a quilt for Janine Kuzi, and that had to be one of the within myself of having. It's like I'm making somebody else a quilt, and it's like, oh my God, are they going to like it?
Yeah, well, and somebody who you love and respect and trust, and she's been a teacher for you and a mentor. It's like it's like the pressure gets even. Yeah.
But when
it's an honor too. It's like, how do I ooh.
Well, it's the yes and, because in loving her, it's like that love and trust within myself went into piecing all this fabric together, and then that ended up becoming the gift that of love that went to her, and I just, like bringing it back to the self-care. It's like my next project is a quilt for me.
Yay. Nice.
Because I want, these are all quilts, but this is a quilt with the intention of loving me.
That's nice. Sort of wrapping yourself in your own blanket. Yeah.
And I think that that to me, that's what self-love is. And part of that representation is the self-care that we give ourselves.
Yeah. That's good. I like the intentionality of that. I know, I'm often like when I when I create, I often just do it because I have to. It's like I just have to. Like I just have to make something, or I just have to like get this out of me. Or when I write, sometimes I have to get these thoughts out of my head and get them onto paper. And then afterwards, sometimes it's like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. Like it's like the thing kind of tells me what it's about or why I had to make it, after I get it out.
Yeah.
And what I hear you doing is kind of going in through the other door. It's like, what, I already know why I want to do this. I already know what this is about. Now I just have to figure out like what's the form it's actually going to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then, wrap yourself up in that,
Yeah.
having given yourself all that energy and time.
Well,
That's cool.
well, and I love that we've just demonstrated by sharing two different doorways
Mm.
into that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
So,
I would say like to any reluctant creatives out there, I love this link that you're making between creativity and self-care, because I think that our creativity is one of the places that we beat ourselves up the most. And it's one of the ways that we can care for ourselves the most. So it's like, how do we, what's the blend there that we can find where it's like, I'm actually giving myself some love and respect and care in being creative and in my creative expression, as opposed to, oh, I can't ever create because I'm going to beat myself up so badly about whatever I do, or that I don't finish it, or that I bought too much fabric, or I
said
what am
no
I?
filter anywhere, any ever.
Well, it's like, right now, one of my biggest creative expressions is cooking. It's like, my refrigerator is as full as your fabric drawers are. It's like, I want lots of colors to cook with.
Well, it's inspiring.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So yes. Anyways, I realize that we've probably gone over 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've got another call I got to go get on, but
Yeah. So thank you. I adore what we've kind of given birth to here, and that is that relationship and just the rich content of different perspectives
yeah,
about being in relationship with self-care and being creative. So
yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
thank you. So
Thank
I'm going to stop the record